So, welcome everybody. So wonderful to be here with all of you. It's such a delight to welcome everybody into the community, into the circle. And so, just take a moment and let yourself let this into your heart. The fact that we're here. Hello, Sophia. Hello to our Facebook friends. And a hello out to Candace tonight, who we know listens to us from Spain tomorrow. So we're thinking of you, Candace. Just let the community into your heart right now. Rest here for a moment. Hello to Darren. Hello to Lori. Hi, Leif. So let's just let this settle in. And tonight, I'm going to continue talking tonight about wisdom. We started this last week, and we'll continue it for the rest of May and June, in looking at different aspects of wisdom. And tonight, I'm going to invite us to look at what we call clear seeing, and see if we can cultivate a sense of what that means and how that can really support understanding and liberation in the mind and the heart. And so I'm going to invite us into clear seeing throughout this meditation, and just invite us into this sense of clearly knowing how it is right now. And as we clearly know what's happening in our internal world as we go to meditate, and also our external world because we're aware of the Sangha. But as we come into this clear seeing, our intention is to be present with what's here with as little agenda as possible, or without any agenda if we can. That is just being with what's here. And in that way, we let go of any kind of clinging for something else to be here. And there can be some sense of freedom in that. And so settling into the sense of the community. So what's here could be quite joyful, quite has got a sweetness to it. So sensing into the community that's here. Sensing the support. Any appreciation or gratitude for being here with this community of friends. Noticing if there's any place in the body that feels this gratitude or appreciation. And then sensing into the body with our clear seeing. Sensing the sense of the body sitting on the chair. The feeling if the body feels heavy or light. There's a sense in the body of feeling any ripple from the day, any tiredness or agitation or energy. Just seeing clearly how it is, just as it is. Sensing the body contacting the floor with the feet. Sensing the legs and the hips. Just the direct sensations. And sensing the breathing in the body. How is it? How do you feel it in the most in the chest or the belly or the whole trunk of the body breathing? Just clearly knowing, clearly seeing how it is right now in the body. And then we can have a sense of clearly knowing the impact of meditation and our attention on the body. As you are with the body, does anything occur? Does the body soften? Do you notice changing sensations in the body? So we can sense with our clearly knowing what continues to unfold as we settle with the body. We can turn to knowing clearly the heart. And sometimes this sense of the heart can be kind of vague. It's not always clear how the heart feels, and that's okay. We're seeing clearly if there's kind of a neutral feeling. We don't need to force any particular kind of feeling. Just seeing clearly what's here. And then we can turn our knowing, our clear seeing towards the mind. What's here in the mind? The mind might be busy. Might be settling. How is it in the mind? Just clearly knowing. And sensing back into the body and the breath as an anchor. And when we use an anchor like this in our practice, we're inviting we're inviting the mind and the heart to settle a little bit, calm a little bit with one place to come back to. The mind will still move to thinking. And we can just see this clearly. The mind will come back all by itself. And in that moment, it's a really deep opportunity to see clearly. Oh, what's it like when the mind is back, is awake again? It's a really cool moment to see clearly. And no need to rush back to the breath. We want to just spend a little time noticing that moment when the mind comes back, and there's a quality there. You can get curious about that. And then we can settle back into the body and the breath. From this anchor of the body and the breath, we can be aware, we can see when the mind moves, and thoughts come and go, and emotions come and go. When they call the attention, that's fine. Just see clearly, oh, this coming and going. And then gently returning to the anchor. Just knowing clearly this whole process. No problem. Just being with it the way it is. We can use a very soft mental note if that's helpful to see clearly what's happening now. You can whisper in the back of the mind, oh, awake again from thinking, awake again. Or a little note with the breath rising, falling. Sometimes noting can help support clear seeing. Oh, busy mind, pinball mind, rising and falling with the breath. Allowing what rises to be known. Settling into the anchor of the body and the breath. Everything can rise within this field. Oh, so dear friends, it's so lovely to sit with you together. And we're going to continue on our exploration of wisdom, and that word wisdom has sometimes sounds kind of unreachable sometimes. And so I like the word understanding. We really cultivate this understanding of how to support the mind and the heart to find freedom. And so last week we looked at 3 ways of cultivating wisdom. The way of hearing or reading about the teachings. The second aspect of taking them in and trying them for ourselves. And the third aspect of, as we try them out for ourselves, they become embodied and become living in a living way in our systems. And so today I'd like to offer some reflections on this sense of clear seeing, offer some information that you can hear and take in and then try out, and then see how it settles in your body and in your system. And I'll offer some examples tonight of this kind of embodied care, embodied understanding. And so just before we carry on into that, let's take our moment and just appreciate the community again, and just look around, see everybody, and wave at those people that isn't it lovely? We wave once and we wave at everybody. It's quite sweet. One wave does a lot of goes a long way. Check out the other page, see who else is in the in the adjoining room. Hello, Heather. Hello, Robbie. Hello, Yarnell. And Myra and Rachel. Yes, and I saw Lori before. Hello, and Darren. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm thinking that you were all on gallery view at that time. Yes, you could see each other. Yes? Yeah, great, wonderful. And so I'd like to start with a poem. And this is a poem from David Budbill, and it's called The 3 Goals. The first goal is to see the thing itself in and for itself. To see it simply and clearly for what it is. No symbolism, please. The second goal is to see each individual thing as unified, as one, with all the other 10,000 things. In this regard, a little wine helps a lot. The third goal is to grasp the first and the second goals, to see the universal and the particular simultaneously. Regarding this one, call me when you get it. It's said that there are 2 qualities that are cultivated in our meditation. One of them is clear seeing, and the other is calming. It's calming, training in tranquility. And both of these things, the calming, which in Pali is samatha, the clear seeing, which in Pali is vipassana, or insight, or understanding, or wisdom, these 2 work together. And it's important very often on Wednesday nights here, we practice a lot of calming meditation. That's where we have one object in our mind. We're coming back to the anchor, and that can calm the body and bring some tranquility. And then when we have some tranquility, then we can bring our clear seeing in, and we can see more clearly what's here in this inner landscape. And that's where we can learn a lot about our patterns and how to work with them to move towards freedom in the heart and the mind. And so we don't want to just cultivate calmness. We want to be able to cultivate clear seeing also. And they work together. Joseph Goldstein says, wisdom is seeing clearly the nature of our conditioning and understanding the way to freedom. And so these two things work together, the calming and the clear seeing. Ajahn Brahm says, calm leads to insight and insight leads to calm. And so they support each other. As we settle a little bit, we can see more clearly. As we see more clearly, that settles the system even more. And then we can, they just weave together. And there's a beautiful sutta called In Tandem about these two qualities. It's in the Anguttara Nikaya. And in this, Venerable Ananda is sharing that there are three ways that calming practice and clear seeing practice work together. Now, okay, there's three ways. I just love the way these suttas read. Not everyone loves the way the suttas read, but I love this. So the first way is a practitioner can develop calmness and then insight. Number two, a practitioner can develop insight or clear seeing and then calmness. Or number three, a practitioner can develop calmness and clear seeing in tandem. And so any way it works for you is onward leading. And we say onward leading to freedom in the mind. And so we had a wise practitioner last week. I shared that this practitioner was realizing, seeing clearly that they were struggling with calming the mind. And in this case, and when we all kind of nodded our heads when I asked if that was a common experience, I see some more nods now. All right, this is a very, very, very rich place to look for in practice, because we all experience this, and we'll all kind of experience this at some time. When we notice ourselves struggling to calm the mind, that is a really important time to realize that we also need clear seeing. We need to see clearly that we're struggling. We need to see clearly that the mind is busy. And here's what happens. Khenchen Rinpoche I'm going to read a quote that he talks about what happens if we don't bring clear seeing into that instance, and we continue to struggle against what's here, that is a busy mind. I love what he says. He says, what then is vipassana, which literally means clear seeing? First of all, without clear seeing, we have bewildered ourselves into samsara. Samsara is a Pali word for suffering, getting wound up, clinging. So he says, without clear seeing, we bewilder ourselves into samsara. I don't know about you, but I walk around bewildering myself into samsara quite a bit. He says, during this confused state, we do not see clearly the true nature of things, what reality is. The practice of seeing clearly develops the ability to see clearly the actual state of affairs, to see the basic condition of what is. And he goes on to say, training in Clear seeing in Vipassana clarifies ignorance, can help us work with difficult emotions and deepen wisdom. And so I love this, that we bewilder ourselves into suffering, into samsara, when we don't acknowledge how it is, when we cling to an agenda of how we think things should be, out of good intention, out of very good intention. This is the wise view that the Buddha is talking about, seeing how it is we bewilder ourselves with this relationship to experience. And so the practice of clear seeing all by itself is a wisdom, is a way of understanding, because in the moment of clear seeing, we are seeing without clinging to an agenda. And this is itself non-clinging, and this is the heart of the Buddha's teaching. That this cultivates a kind of peace in the heart. And so when we don't, like I was thinking today, all the ways I struggled a little bit with acknowledging how it is. I mean, we do this all the time, and so we'll have lots of opportunities every single day to cultivate this clear seeing. And so this morning, for example, I woke up, with some anxiety in my heart. How do we meet that with clear seeing? My first impulse, my first instinct is to push it away. How do I can ask in that moment, how can I see this clearly? Oh yeah, this is anxiety. This is like a quiver in the heart here. When we have loneliness, agitation, aversion to uncertainty, all these difficult states, how can we feel into, can we see them clearly without an agenda? I'm going to read a little bit more from this sutta, the sutta in Tandem. Ananda is talking about those three cases and says, there is a case where a practitioner has developed insight preceded by tranquility. As they develop tranquility preceded by insight, the path is born. And then there is the case where a practitioner has developed tranquility preceded by insight. As they develop tranquility preceded by insight, the path is born. And then the third one, where they develop tranquility in tandem, again, when they do that, the path is born. And this path is born phrase can be understood in a number of ways, but one of the ways to understand it is that in that moment of clear seeing, the path is born, the path of non-clinging. Non-clinging is in that moment, and so the path appears just like that. That's the path, that non-clinging to the agenda. And in that moment, we can feel a little bit of softening, a little bit of release, a little bit of relief. The path is born in that moment. And the Buddha really invites us at this stage and every stage of the practice, to bring in the teaching of ehipassiko, the Pali word meaning come and see for yourself. Check this out for yourself. What happens if you try this yourself? What happens if you use the noting practice or the naming practice to see clearly, to be with what's happening? And there may be subsequent actions that are necessary, but in that moment, that's the initial piece that we can bring in, the initial piece of wisdom, and then seeing clearly keeps on supporting us to see what's the next action we might do. But in that very simple action, mental action of clear seeing, the path is born right there. So when we sense into this for ourselves, we can ask ourselves questions like, what happens when I struggle trying to calm the busy mind? What happens when I allow the busy mind and just let it do its thing, but come back to the stability of the body? I've got lots of experience with this, as I've shared many times, with self-judgment. Oh, this is self-judgment. And then sensing into the body and the heart and the kindness, may I be kind. So we begin to notice for ourselves what happens when we bring this clear seeing to our experience. Is there a calming? Is there a settling? Or is something else needed? A practitioner sent this in this last week. They said that what they've been learning in the last while is the importance of patience. I'm learning the importance of patience with myself and others, but a lot with myself, because I might not always feel how I want to feel. And that's okay. In that moment, the path is born for her. So what would happen in our minds if we didn't cling to how we think it should be? If we stopped pushing our experience to try to make it be a certain way? I have a poem here by Rosemerry Wahtola Trommer. It says, perhaps it would erode eventually, but, and this is the poem, that rock that we have been pushing up the hill, that one that keeps rolling back down and we keep pushing back up, what if we stopped? We are not Sisyphus. This rock is not a punishment. It's something we've chosen to push. Who knows why? I look at all the names we once carved into its sedimentary sides. How important I thought they were, those names. How I've clung to labels, who's right, who's wrong. How I've cared about who's pushed harder and who's been slack. Now all I want is to let the rock roll back to where it belongs, which is wherever it lands. And you and I could imagine walk unencumbered all the way to the top and walk and never stop, except to discover what our hands might do if, for once, they were no longer pushing. This is what the Buddha meant by wise view in the Eightfold Path. Beginning to know for ourselves when it is that we push our experience away or try to push a certain experience into place, and get to know in our bodies what it's like if we allow. And that initial allowing, then there may, as I was saying earlier, be more things to do. It's not about allowing and just staying there in that and that as if it's a passive place. From this place, of course, we can move actively. Move to take care of myself in the morning when I have that anxiety when I wake up. Move to, once I had this experience, a friend of mine is living in the Losh, comes from the Losh, and been connecting with her and the great difficulties that are happening in the Losh, and feeling a lot of compassion. And then also on top of that, she's sharing that they're getting a lot of very hateful messages on social media. My heart just broke. And Can I just clearly know that? As I'm saying it to you now, my heart is just softening a little bit. My belly is softening a little bit. And that gives me greater capacity for action, for supporting her in whatever way needs to be, would be helpful. And so wise view, clearly seeing. Before, I've been working with this for a few days, and I was sensing with that sense of feeling helpless and angry, and I realized I was really not able to touch the real heartbreak of that experience. And then once I did, something kind of softened, and I'm more able to be with it. And so this seeing clearly can free the mind, heart, from the struggle with what is, and help it to be able to be more strongly in a place of responsiveness. But of course, it's our default to push. It's our default because, of course, that's our first initial impulse. This feeling's unpleasant, and we want it to go away, of course. And so we can hold that as well with clear seeing. Oh, all right, there's aversion here. I'm pushing this away. I wish things were different. And we can clearly see that. And that's all right. I wish it were different. I wish it were different at Lalage. And it's all right. And so I just want to end with Joseph Goldstein again. And what he says about wisdom. Seeing clearly the nature of our conditioning and understanding the way to freedom. And so this first stage, or this fundamental, perhaps, clear seeing skill is one that we often don't see clearly. Partly because we teach the calming practice so much, and we think that that's the purpose. But our purpose, really, our intention, is to understand the calming practice and then see clearly, so that we can explore our experience, understand the conditioning, and understand how clear seeing as a kind of first response can actually be a liberation practice. And so we'll stop there and invite any reflections and on this topic or anything else that's up for you. And just before we began, Heather was asking about the retreat that we had 3 weeks ago. And that was a retreat of cultivating care and compassion in challenging times. And I didn't ask those folks who were on the retreat if they had anything from that retreat to bring into the circle here. So there may be folks that want to bring things from that retreat. It's quite appropriate here in this theme of seeing clearly and cultivating wisdom. So we can sit quietly together, can share any reflections on what's happening for you in response to this reflection, or in your practice in general. And if there are challenges, discoveries, everything's welcome. Thank you, everybody, for your wonderful presence. We've got a couple of announcements before we go.
Hi, everybody. It's Carol Cavanaugh. I'm going first. So our annual spring day long is coming up soon. It's going to be on Saturday, January the 27th, from 9 a.m. in the morning to 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And the title is Gladness and Quiet Joy, Essential Friends in Times of Change. And so the Buddha encouraged us to live in joy even in times of affliction. This day of nourishment will explore gladdening practices that are available in every moment and their liberating role in the journey of life. So for more details and to register, you can please visit the website.
And this will be an online retreat?
Yes, I was presuming that was obvious. But yeah, so you'll have to register for that online. Yeah.
Great. And we have found the last retreat we found that it was quite supportive on Zoom. It was a surprisingly supportive experience. So we'll have some fun with this one. Thank you.
And Jeannie, it's Carol. Just a reminder of an announcement we've made previously, but we have our Anglin Lake Meditation Insight Retreats booked for August. We understand that in these times, the restrictions, there's some uncertainty as to how we'll proceed, but there are some spots open. So we are encouraging everyone to book and reserve your spot. Don't have to worry about paying. And those that have paid, if we aren't able to proceed, because I don't think we'll be doing this one as an online retreat, pretty sure you can. So just reserve your spot and we'll go from there. But it's a beautiful opportunity if it works out to be in nature with spiritual friends and the natural world.
Thank you so much.
The website. Details are on the website. Sorry.
Thank you so much, everybody.